Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I've got the real scoop on what happened between Cam Newton and those kids at the football camp.
And Lonzo Ball, I'm Colin Cowherd, and I like what I see. It may be a picture at the beach, but I like what I see. Speak for yourself starts now.
Little Mike Bibby, you like that look?
Let me tell you something. That was a miraculous change.
Bibby's son. All right, hello and welcome. We're joined now by NBA champion Eddie House and Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Let's start in San Diego, where reportedly Greg Popovich met with Kawhi Leonard yesterday to discuss the problems that drove Kawhi to issue a trade demand through the media last week. According to ESPN, Pop had spent weeks trying to set up a meeting, but Kawhi made it difficult, still angry over the team's handling of his injury last season. All right, Cowherd, last year Pop had a problem with LaMarcus Aldridge. This year he's got a big problem with Kawhi Leonard. Is all of this proof that Pop is going to have to change his coaching style?
Well, he's 69 years old. Good luck to that. With a military background, Belichick's family had some military. I think this is the reality of we have two guys, really successful, piles of money, built their legacy, Pop and Belichick, and they are struggling with the new modern environment, which is players get a say too. And Pop called him out and lost his trust. And I said this when it happened 6 months ago. I said, this kid's quiet. He's nonverbal. That's why he's got his uncle as his business manager. His circle of trust is really tiny, and he does not trust Pop.
And I'm going to defend Pop shockingly. As much as Pop annoys me with his political virtue signaling, I think we're moving in a direction where it's damn near impossible to coach kids. That if you do anything tough, if you challenge them in any tough way, they make so much money, they've been pampered through all of their high school and junior high and AAU careers, that it's almost impossible to coach. And so here's Greg Popovich trying some tough love, poking the bear. This is what coaches have done forever. But now I guess you have to just be in rear end kissing mode the entire time you're coaching these kids. And I think eventually that's not going to be good for the sport. I don't think Pop can make the transition. Kawhi wants out, and he didn't like the tough love that was shown to him in San Antonio.
Look, I'm like you in that I like an old school, hard-nosed coach. That's how we grew up being coached. But I wouldn't say you can't be coached. Brad Stevens is coaching guys. Quinn Snyder in Utah is coaching guys. And you could argue, look at Greg Popovich's history. You could argue he's never really had that type of success with American stars. David Robinson played the bulk of his career and almost all of his prime under other coaches. Pop came in later in his career.
Naval
Academy too. Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, all international guys. And if you think Pop or some of these college coaches are hard, that's nothing compared to how they coach overseas. So they're used to the coach having the final say, running everything. Then you see with Pop, LaMarcus Aldridge, and now Kawhi. So, there's players in the past, Steve Smith, Steven Jackson at times, who've had issues with Pop. So I don't know if it's ever worked with the American superstar.
Well, to your point about Brad Stevens and Quinn Snyder, those are very young coaches. So they're more relatable to the millennials, to this young group. When you have old guys that are older guys stuck in their ways, this is how we coach, this is how I won championships. And you expect when you've had stars fall in line all the time, when one rocks the boat, it's kind of, you don't know how to handle it. And I think if anybody can fix it, I think Pop can. I think because he's respected. I think he's respected enough to where Kawhi will listen to him. Now, is it going to be one of those conversations he has where Kawhi's mind is already made up? He's already talked to his representation, and he's like, okay, just take the meeting so it looks good. And the whole time that Pop is talking, he's hitting him with the, right, you right. Yeah, you right, for sure. But in his mind, like, can this hurry up and get over with? We need to get out of here. I got to go get some dinner later on.
But I don't think you have to baby players, but I don't think you can bully them. There's a difference.
Yeah, no. There's a great difference. And I thought Chris's point about Brad Stevens and Quinn Snyder, who I've known since his days at Missouri. Quinn's about 50, 51 years old, not as young as Brad Stevens. But there is like a new style of coaching that you have to be willing to embrace, that Brad Stevens and Quinn Snyder seem like they have the early lead in that. And so, that great point by Chris.
Let me throw this out there. Old school, you had a high school coach bark at you. Then you went to college, and nobody was one and done. College guy barked at you.
Yeah.
Then you went to the NBA, and an old guy barked at you. The new culture is the AAU guy begs you to play on his team.
Recruits you.
Then the college guy begs you to stay for 2 years.
Yep.
It is a worship culture. These guys coming to the NBA, they've been worshipped since they were 8 years old. You used to have guys barking at you. So to that point, it's a different world.
Hi, I'm Alexi Lawless. I used to play soccer back in the 1900s for the U.S. Now you can find me talking about soccer this summer during the World Cup on Fox. Now through July 15th, you can get daily FIFA World Cup updates from me through your Alexa-enabled device. Just say, Alexa, play the Fox Sports Flash Briefing, and you'll get the latest tournament news straight from Russia. Alexa and Alexi. Now that's a winning team. Don't forget to watch the 2018 FIFA World Cup all tournament long live on Fox and FS1.
Kawhi isn't the only one wielding his power, with Texas's big man Mo Bamba refusing to work out for the Memphis Grizzlies and telling the team he don't want to play there. Bamba isn't the only top prospect trying to influence where he ends up. Jaren Jackson Jr., Luka Doncic, both refusing to give the Kings their medical records. Whitlock, bad look for the NBA.
Look, I'm an Indiana Pacer fan, lifelong. I'm concerned about small market teams with this new direction the NBA is going and the players dictating where they want to play. If you're a Sacramento, if you're in Indiana, if you're Memphis, if you're Charlotte, even with Michael Jordan as the owner, you're at a decided disadvantage over the major market teams, and probably that's always been the case. But I just think it's becoming more and more pronounced. And I think eventually, 5 years down the road, we're going to be looking at two different leagues. The small market teams is going to get harder and harder and harder, and the major cities will have a decided advantage. These kids now, with the money they make and the way we talk about them in social media or whatever, they want to be in cities that matter.
Well, they also want to be with teams that are well run.
Yes.
Like, I don't blame the player. I mean, by the way, I don't think Indiana, nobody's saying they won't play in Indiana. They've mostly been pretty well run. I look at who would want to play in Sacramento.
Right.
Seriously, who would want to play in Memphis right now? These players are just saying, why should I give my career to an utterly dysfunctional? I don't see a market size, I see a dysfunction issue. There are a handful of teams in this league. Boston's almost always well run. San Antonio's almost always well run. Historically, the Lakers, if they do have a problem, one of the Bus family kids.
They cut a check. They cut a check.
But I don't see it market size. I mean, Detroit's a big market. Doesn't appear to be very well run. Nobody wants to play there.
Of little memory. This is not new. Steve Francis,
Right.
drafted by Vancouver, absolutely refuses to play, and he gets shipped to another team. So Wilt Chamberlain demanded a trade to the Lakers. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar demanded out of Milwaukee to the Lakers. Moses Malone, when he went to Philadelphia, that was a part of wanting out of Houston.
Those are veterans you're talking about. These guys
It's
are
not Steve Francis.
I agree, but these not giving medical records. I just think this problem is going to become more and more pronounced as we move forward.
I don't think it's a bad look for the NBA. It's more so a bad look for those particular teams. Because if you can't entice a young guy who's coming out of college to fulfill his dream to come play for you, and you're handing the keys to the franchise to him, and you can't get him to come, how do you expect to get anybody or ever change the way that people will look at your franchise? DeAndre Ayton, he just worked out for the Suns, nobody else. I mean, you pretty much know where you're going to go. These top 5, top 7 guys, they know where they're going to go, and they're not going to go work out for any other team. And most of these workouts, by the way, are individual workouts. They're one-on-none. So you're really not getting a real feel at the workout. All you're doing is looking at measurables. You're seeing how good his feet are, but you're not getting a real feel how he could play in a simulated game situation.
Kobe refused to work out for the New Jersey Nets. Then they said, we're going to draft you anyway, and he threatened not to play. So he scared John Calipari into not drafting him. The rest is history. So my point is that this is just not new. And the bottom line is if you still like a guy and you haven't worked him out, you can still draft him, and he's going to have to play for you. I don't think you could do what Steve Francis did nowadays. And so you got 4 years with him on the rookie scale. He's going to have to ball for you.
By the way, let me just say this, and I don't want to get too off topic, but this is why we don't need any more teams in professional sports in America. I think after about 1990, we started making stuff up. It's not like the NBA needed Charlotte, right? They had big college sports. All these owners, they love expansion teams because you got to pay them an expansion fee. What we have now is diluted leagues Well, don't blame the players if they don't want to go to markets in the middle of nowhere.
I think you make a fair point because, and I'll even expand your point. Once you start expanding your league, you're creating more front office jobs, more head coaching jobs, and maybe you don't have the talent
That's right.
to fill those spaces so you can be ran in a competent fashion. There's only so many Quinn Snyders, Brad Stevens in the league. There's only so many Daryl Morey's, if you want to call him a great exec, or Jerry West in the league, and you expand, and now you got—
The league is diluted.
Yes.
It's diluted.
Not just on the court,
right.
off the court as well.
Cities, no, there's no question.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And to that, I just said DeAndre Ayton is not going to – he didn't work out for anybody else except the Suns. So if the Suns don't take DeAndre Ayton, you telling me that Memphis ain't going to grab him? They're going to snatch him up instantly. It doesn't matter about not showing up, especially if you're locked in to be a top 5 pick. It really doesn't matter.
Welcome back, Eddie House, Chris Broussard back. Let's move to Lonzo Ball, whose future with the Lakers has been a big topic of conversation this offseason. Now it looks like Lonzo's trying to prove that despite his recent rap battle with Kyle Kuzma, he might be taking his career more seriously, posting a pic on Instagram showing formerly slight point guard now is beefed up. Oh, my God, look at that. He's
Looks
swole.
bigger than LiAngelo. Look how much taller he is. I mean,
So, Whitlock, does this give you any hope for Lonzo's future? Look at how big, look at that.
it's incredible. Look, it proves that he's desperate. And it proves, and look, desperation can be a good thing. I'm not. He's certainly doing something in the weight room. I'm not sure though how this improves his shot. Now I think it improves him as a safety, a free safety in the NFL. But I don't know if this improves his shot. I don't know if this makes him quicker on defense.
Oh, come on, you can't. A stronger athlete's a better athlete.
It depends on, there's different kinds of strength. There's a basketball strength and there's a strength for football and contact sports. That to me, he needs to be doing like yoga and pliability, and it would just manifest itself a little bit differently in my opinion.
You look at we have a pre and post, right?
I mean, that's what I look like in my prime. I mean,
Now, time out. You're going to tell me which one would you rather have guarding you?
I think the one on the left is from like 9th grade.
It got to be.
I don't. I think it's from like
Listen, I
8
think
months
this also, you know who I think this looks good to? Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Paul George. We've got young men out there taking the game serious.
I think you guys are overstating how big he is. Okay, he's a little cut up now. I think he's flexing. I think he's purposely flexing. You know, like all guys do when they take pictures.
He put a couple pounds on.
Yeah, it's gonna help him. I mean, and you know, look, back in the day they used to think weightlifting was bad for your shot and all that, but now they recognize it's actually good for your shot. So I don't think this is gonna hurt him. I like to see it. It shows that he's not spending all of his time writing rhymes. So I'm happy with it.
I like it too. What it does to me, it shows dedication to his craft. You know, he had to get back in the lab. He had to see, you know what? It's not only because when you get better in the summer, it's not only your jump shot or the things that you think you have deficiencies. It's you got to work on your body as well. He has a year of the NBA behind him. He has been injured, so he's like, hey, let me work on my body, make sure it's right. I wasn't strong enough, but he's going to continue to work on his jump shot while he's in there. Believe that. His free throw game, his handles, watching film is also going to help him in positioning and getting better defensively. But I think it shows professionalism to me. Like, hey, I'm taking this serious. I need to work on my body to be better.
He's 6 months from looking like Mike Bibby's offspring. And is Mike Bibby's jumper more wet today because he's all swole
I saw a
up
video
and
of him
prison swole?
sinking a
No,
bunch of threes.
his jumper's been wet.
Okay, but that
No,
doesn't,
no,
that
again.
doesn't even look like a basketball player.
He looks like a
But he can
That's
still
the
he can still go out there and
path
play, though. Y'all don't get it twisted. He can get
That's-
out there and get down.
Look like he's getting ready for MMA.
Eddie, I'm being for a shooter and for any basketball player, not all muscle is good muscle. Not all of it helps your game. You can't be out there lifting like and looking like a football player. Show me the great shooter or basketball player that looks like a football
Well, I'll
player.
tell you what, I've seen Mike shooting recently just because he's getting ready for the
Talking
big
about Lonzo.
Okay, you talking about Lonzo. Well, he's going to have to get it together. What about LeBron? LeBron can shoot, and he got
Yeah.
body like
This
he
is-
got body like a
now we
football
just compared
player.
him to LeBron.
No, I
This
didn't. I'm
is-
talking about his body and
This
his
is
weightlifting
not Ball
regimen.
State 1991 or 87, whenever you played there. Look,
What did them hoopers
when
look
I
like?
played, they used to say you couldn't do curls because it was going to mess up your jump shot. He's going to be fine. And again, he's not that burly. He's cut up. He's got a little
Guys,
muscle to him. That's good.
Forget the shot for a second. A lot of guys come in this league can't shoot. Ray Allen didn't shoot like that first year in the league. My biggest knock on Lonzo, First year in the league, he was way more athletic. He was dunking on
He could
people,
shoot,
Ray Allen.
though.
Yeah, Ray can't
Not
hit
like
shoot.
good at the
Don't
end.
compare Ray Allen and Lonzo
And not
Ball.
that jump shot.
One of my biggest knocks on Lonzo when he came into this league, I said, he's not very athletic. That's what an athlete looks like. He looks like an athlete now. He didn't have
looks like a safety. You're exactly right.
Right. By the way,
show me the NBA point guard that looks like that.
Dwayne Wade was built like a safety. Dwayne Wade was cut. I'm telling you, I didn't like his look.
Now we compared him to Dwayne
Well,
Wade.
God, every guy
time we
mentioned,
say something, you say we're comparing them to. No, we're
We
just giving
just
you
did.
examples. Now, this could work. We're not saying that he's Dwayne Wade or he's exactly like that. You got to give him credit for going into the lab and putting in the work because he has to put in work to come out looking like
Jason
that.
Kidd ever look like that? That's who
Jason Kidd was already
was a
big,
solid-
though.
we compared
Kidd was a
Big
solid
never
guy.
looked like
oh,
that.
you're comparing Jason
looked
Kidd
like,
to him?
Yeah, right. Jay
That's
looked,
who everybody was comparing him to.
But Jay Kidd's body was like that when he was in high school. Jason had that body, like Jimmy. Jimmy had that burly body
Jim
in
Jackson.
high school. Some have him and some don't. He don't, but he's working on it. Can't be mad at that.
I like it.
I like it too.
I like it a lot.
All right, welcome back. We're joined now by Super Bowl champ Mark Schlereth and former Pro Bowler T.J. Houshmandzadeh. Let's move to Tom Brady, whose unusual offseason continues. In a wide-ranging interview with Oprah this week, Brady acknowledged that his playing days will be coming to an end sooner rather than later. But when ESPN posted his quote about it on Instagram, Brady responded in comments, writing simply, Cuente cinco, which is Spanish for 45. Meanwhile, Bill Belichick's future is also uncertain, with rumors swirling that Josh McDaniels is now the Patriots coach in waiting. Cowherd, who do you think will last longer, Brady or Belichick?
I just want you to say that
Yeah.
Spanish.
L45 is how I say that in Spanish. L45.
Cuente y cinco.
Yeah, don't. No.
I will say this. Just because of nutrition and what you can do to your body, I think 41 is the new 37 or 36. It's like LeBron James, 15th year. His body, it's the new 11th year. So I look at Brady. He was the MVP last year. And he had 500 yards in the Super Bowl last year. We're getting caught up on 41. But you're seeing marathoners, Olympians, all athletes, they play longer. Tom created his own diet, you know? So, like, I look at Tom and we're caught up on this 41 thing. Look at him when he talks to Oprah. Does he look 41? He looks 36. He looks 34.
My issue isn't as much age as it is, I think this offseason we're seeing a level of unhappiness and frustration from Brady that's new, and that could lead him to walking away. But the more this offseason is played out, the more I believe the frustration, the pushback against Belichick is because Belichick's on his way out. And when I look at the Josh McDaniels retention, him not taking that coach job, that to me is just a clear sign. There's only 32 NFL head coaching jobs. And for Josh McDaniels to turn one down after he's already failed in Denver, that to me means he's going to be the head coach in New England sooner rather than later. So I look at this season as Belichick's last season, and Brady's making it clear he plans to play 3 or 4 more years, and I buy it.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any question. I mean, the way the league operates now, you don't hit each other. You don't practice that way. You don't. They protect the quarterback in the games. You can't hit him. You can't hit him low. You can't hit him high. You can't. I mean, so there's a target about that big around. So, I mean, obviously you don't take the beating that you used to take even 10 years ago. No. So that part is going to lend itself to him playing longer. And, you know, he still has a passion to play longer. He's still playing at the top of his game. He said once, I've got all the answers to the test. Why would I quit?
Right.
Right? I mean, he knows the game. Here's the one thing that makes me think that Belichick will outlast Brady, is that coaches have this insatiable desire to prove that they are great coaches even without their great players. When I was in Denver, Mike Shanahan, John Elway retired back-to-back Super Bowls. It wasn't like they were fighting to keep John Elway. Please just come back for another year. Please come back. It was like, I want to go do this without John Elway. I want to prove that my legacy isn't tied to John Elway. Yeah, it didn't work out, right? So, but I think coaches, you know, I always say it, and TJ will back me up on this. You think the egos are big in the locker room? Walk upstairs. Walk upstairs to the coaches' offices, man. There are some egos up there. And so I just look at it like, why wouldn't he want to prove to everybody I'm the greatest coach in history? It's undebatable. And to do that, I've got to win without Tom Brady.
Now, if he does that, That's not going to happen. Players have to win the game. The reason Tom Brady can play as long as he wants is because of Alex Guerrero. That's why. Dr. G really knows what he's doing, and him and Tom have this cohesiveness. He understands his body. Alex is all about pliability and keeping muscles loose but strong. You want your muscles to be like titanium. That's what he always would say. Tom has been working with Alex so long, his body is not going to break down. He can pretty much play as long as he wants to. He's not going to retire at 45 because his body can't take it. He's going to retire at 45 because he wants to spend time with his family. He can keep on going. I think he can outlast Belichick if he wants to. If he wishes to play longer than Belichick coaches, he's going to do that. Because if Belichick tries to coach without Brady, it's going downhill fast.
You know, the other thing is, you said it, I think, sometimes rules change in sports or a culture changes, and it helps people. For instance, NBA's become very much a three-point league.
Sure.
That extends the career of a shooter who may not be athletic. Curry can play forever, right? In the NFL, it's a bubble screen league. The quarterbacks now, by the way, Breeze is 39. He looks like he's got 5 years left. You don't sit in the pocket. Go look at the old NFL films. Quarterbacks, 7-step. I mean, bullseye. Tom is the ball's out of his hands.
Man, we were 7-stepping when I was playing.
Right.
So I think
I used to get mad if like we chart the first 15 plays, yes. Right? You chart the first 15 plays. If we had more than 2 7-step drops, man, I'd be cussing out the offensive coordinator. I'm like, what are you doing making this? They don't even throw 7-step drops hardly ever.
I want to go to Mark's point, which I thought was fascinating about Belichick wanting to prove he can win without Tom Brady. I don't think he needs that for his resume, but I think Mark's point is he may need it for his ego.
Right.
That I can win without Brady. And maybe that's why Belichick is a little upset because he had it laid out with Garoppolo. He was going to win without Brady with Garoppolo.
Right.
Now with no Garoppolo, and, you know, what is the plan after Tom Brady? I don't think he'll have that opportunity. I, again, will go back to, I think Brady will outlast him. They stole the Garoppolo thing from him again. If he can find that lightning in a bottle again, I can't remember. Did they draft a quarterback in this year's draft? I'm not sure if
I don't know. They always seem to draft a quarterback.
I think they did the last round, the kid from LSU or something.
But Danny Etling.
Yeah.
Hell, if he can find another Jacoby Brissett, again, I would be shocked. Because, you know, I think he's a workable quarterback in the NFL. So I think that opportunity's been stolen from him, Mark.
It may have been. And we know, I mean, all this tension really over the last year, a lot of that has been with that Garoppolo trade, with the all of a sudden the circumvention of power that we saw in front of our eyes. And they can sit there and say, oh, it's all baloney and it's all fabricated by the media and nothing to see here. And, you know, it's the Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But there's stuff going on behind the curtain.
His response, let it be known. When he paused and was like, what? Oh, it's problems going on.
Yeah.
We can play and work together, but I don't like you anymore.
To Cam Newton, who was taking some heat this week after a video surfaced that showed the former MVP snapping and getting in the face of kids who were heckling him at a 7-on-7 football camp.
Cam. I'm playing off. You do what? Oh, no. What happened to the Super Bowl? Cam. I'm playing off. You do what? Oh, no. What happened to the Super Bowl?
Whitlock, we said yesterday there could be new developments in this story, so what have you heard?
I hate to admit this, but you were dead right yesterday. You raised a flag of caution and saying, you know what, there's probably a little bit more to this story. These kids being this out of line, there's maybe more to the story, and there is more to the story. I've got some contacts in that 7-on-7 world. This was Under Armour's elite 7-on-7 camp. Cam is there coaching his team, and he's done this for several years. And his reputation at this camp every year takes a hit because he coaches emotionally, he heckles the other team, he gets into it with these kids. This isn't the first year. And so Cam actually instigated and set the environment for the heckling he received because this is what he does every year. I was told that these kids heckled him all the way to his car. And so he's picking, and look, I've been to these 7-on-7 camps. The team he actually was playing this weekend was a team out of Chicago that beat them, and Cam threw a fit, said they used an illegal formation and made him come back out and play another play. Cam competes really hard at these camps, gets into it with these kids, and the kids gave back what they were getting.
What are you going to say, TJ?
To me, that's just good old competition. These kids not like, I coach at Long Beach Poly. I never forget this past spring. 2 kids bring up a video of me dropping the ball in the game, right? This is going to practice. And you start to be like, really? You gonna say something to me? Make it through the first 15 minutes without dropping the ball. And the kid watching this, he knows exactly who I'm talking to now, too. He probably dropped 10 balls in practice. I said, you can't even go to practice catching every ball, and you don't drop 10. You gonna say something to me about dropping the ball in the game? It was all in good fun. But the rest of the week, every time he dropped the ball, I let him know. Every time. And that's what goes on. If you gonna say something to me, you gotta give it, you can take it. To me, it was just good old competition. The kids have been messing with Cam the whole day. Okay, he probably got to look. You gonna do what? Oh, okay, that's exactly what I thought. That's how I see it.
You know, Cam's an emotional player. I like emotional players, although generally I don't love them at quarterback. I would prefer a Russell Wilson. I like Peyton Manning, who's I would say not mechanical. I would say robotic a little bit, personality-wise. Listen, I think Cam, and this has been one of my criticisms on him, he runs contrarian to the league's position. He's a receiver personality playing quarterback. That's why I've always struggled with him. He's not a precise thrower. He ad-libs too much. He pouts on the sidelines. That's what running backs and receivers do and linebackers do and safeties. So he's never fit the profile of the stoic, almost boring Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, Tom Brady never gives you a quote. I just think it's been defined.
Tom Brady is super emotional.
Well, he'll pump his fist, but largely when you interview him,
He yells.
Yes.
Tom Brady yells.
He's super emotional.
look at Cam.
Not like he's indifferent to
He
Cam,
is the
but
most emotional quarterback in the league, and that's just who he is. That's his brand.
Like I said yesterday, if you get in that environment, sometimes adulting is hard, and you've got to be an adult. And there's nothing wrong with giving some grief and having some fun with the kids, but there comes a point where you don't cross a line. You don't cuss at a kid at one of those camps, regardless of what that kid says to you. You've got to be an adult in those situations. And the tangible skill set is there. I mean, the guy is athletically is the most gifted man on the planet. But it's not tangible things that end up winning championships. It's the intangible aspect of coach, of either leading a team, being that guy that you can count on, being a guy that you know emotionally is going to be okay and he's not going to get flustered in the game and he's going to give you a chance to win. Those are the things that set the great ones apart. A lot of guys, Dan Marino would get after you. Tom Brady gets after you. You know, I mean, John Elway was pretty quiet in the huddle. But there's a lot of guys that have that kind of emotion, but you have to have emotional maturity. And as Joe Gibbs used to say to us all the time in Washington, he won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. His biggest mantra was lose yourself. And I always say, listen, from a leadership standpoint, look over your shoulder. If nobody's following you, you're probably not a very good leader. And those are the things, to me, that Cam continues to falter on, is the intangible leadership qualities that make people want to follow you.
I think you've made a great point, and I want to say, like yesterday, I was somewhat attacking the kids. Not somewhat, I was. I was like, man, I think this is inappropriate. You know, Cam's there giving his time. I didn't understand the full context of what was going on. I've been to these 7-on-7 camps, and where I think Cam is really faltering here is he's there as a coach.
That's the problem.
Not a player. And so if the players want to get emotional and do all the trash, I get it. It's the coach's job to set a tone and to make sure no one crosses the line. And Cam is carrying himself as the coach like he's a player. That's where I think he's really out of line, and where, again, having talked to some people that were on the ground, that were there at this camp, this is what he's done every year he's been there. And so,
because that's who he is.
Because that's who he is. And so some of the kids were expecting it. The tone had already been set from the previous years. And so Cam got what he gives out. You get the energy you put out.
Welcome back. Eddie House is back. We're now joined by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Trae Young, who just got put on blast by an anonymous scout ahead of Thursday's draft. The scout said he wouldn't touch Young, who he thought is closer to Seth Curry than Steph Curry. He also compared him to our friend here, Eddie House. Not sure how that's a criticism, since Eddie played 11 long years in the NBA and won a title. Whitlock, you think Trae Young will be a bust?
Bust is a strong word, and it all depends on expectations. If you're expecting him to be Steph Curry, yeah, he'll be a bust. If you're expecting him to be a solid shooter in the NBA, I don't think he'll be a bust. I think he'll be someone that'll play in the NBA for a while. Look, Seth Curry is in the NBA. I think he missed most of this year injured, but he's been in the NBA in Sacramento and Dallas. It's now, look, this kid is falling in the draft.
Right.
He's a bit of a gimmick.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I think it all depends on the system and who he plays with. Is he surrounded with other shooters and he's got space? In college, after he had that great start to his career in December and January, defenses changed and really focused on him and put a hurting on an 18, 19-year-old kid. I don't think they'll be able to isolate and focus on him so much in the NBA if he's in the right system. He has a chance to be a good player.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that scares me is who is he going to defend? The thing I like is he is fast. Ball in hands, he is fast. Maybe not John Wall fast, but he is fast. So I don't see him as a bust. Again, will he get overdrafted? It's almost like Johnny Manziel got drafted because of Russell Wilson. You know, guys get drafted because there's prototypes. If Steph Curry did not exist, you're not taking him number one, and he may go there. So I think he'll be overdrafted. I don't see a complete bust, though.
I think what happened was the media kind of put him on this pedestal and was comparing him to Steph Curry, when the fact of the matter is we should have just been appreciating Trae Young and what he was doing. Nobody ever led college basketball in scoring and assists. That's extremely hard to do. I was fifth in my senior year, fifth in the nation in scoring. I was nowhere near leading the nation in assists. I needed to score. He carried so much of the offensive burden on his back. He had to do everything, and he did get wore down, and teams did adjust. And to your point, in the NBA, depending on the system he gets in, the coaching, the teachers that are going to be around him, and the other players, I think he'll be able to thrive if he's in the right system. I still think that he's a really, really good passer. Not sure if the offense is going to translate that fast in the NBA, but him finding guys and having the ability to pass guys open, I think that'll still be there.
Yeah, I'd agree. Fairly good bust potential. If he goes to the wrong, team, listen, you go to Sacramento, we know you fall off the map quickly. Remember De'Aaron Fox? Kentucky, awesome point guard, goes to Sacramento. Did you hear his name at all
I
last
thought he
year?
played well last
Yeah, he
year.
was all right. But, I mean, Trae Young goes to Orlando. Some people are predicting 6. I'm telling you, man, that's a nightmare for Trae Young. But I think on the upside, he could be a Mike Bibby-type player, a good, solid player, not an all-star, who has a nice 10-year career and is one of 3 or 4 good players on a decent team.
What I wish was available to Trae Young, which I don't think is available, in his own mind. Because, again, his expectations matter as well. If he comes into the league thinking about being a scorer, and he says, I want to lead the league in scoring and assists, that may be too much for him. If he came into the league with a different mindset, and this is an incredible high bar to reach, but if this thought had ever crossed his mind, I could see him being more John Stockton than Steph Curry. But I don't even think he's even remotely thinking that way. And look, you got to be blessed to have a Karl Malone to run alongside you to be John Stockton. But if he wasn't a guy, if he's not thinking about leading the league in score, could this be a guy that could average 15, 16 points and 10 assists at the peak of his career the way Stockton did? But I don't even think that's crossing his mind.
If you look at point guards, because point guards have the ball, they're the quarterbacks of basketball. Yeah. It really is going to come down to this, above the shoulders. The reason that Westbrook struggles, he struggles emotionally. He lives in a tunnel. The reason Steph doesn't, he recruits KD. He doesn't live in a tunnel. John Wall has struggled with maturity. That's neck up. Other players, Mike Conley, limited, has been great, mature, great leader. When you become a quarterback or a point guard, we always pay attention to the body and the game. That's a leadership position, and to your point, I remember hearing a couple things this year. He wasn't always the best teammate. That, to me, is a roadblock. Because even though I don't like his defense, it's not like Kyrie shuts you down. It's not like Steph shuts you down. If he comes into this league, right mindset, mature, want to be a great teammate, it'll work.
But that's going to be tough for him because this is a guy at Oklahoma who had the green light as soon as he crossed half court. Take any shot you want,
Right.
do whatever you can. And to all of a sudden switch and pivot to being pass first, that's going to be tough, especially on a team, top 10 like Atlanta, Orlando. They don't have many players. I think he's going to struggle out of the gate.
I think if he comes in with the wrong mindset, like you guys said, and saying, hey, I need to score, and not get everybody else involved and be like the quarterback or be the guy that's, let's go out to dinner, guys, bring everybody together.
Right.
You could be on a bad team, but you could still play well and try to help each other out, and people see that. You're always auditioning for the 29 other teams as well when you're playing. So he has to go out there with the right mindset, get everybody involved, and then the scoring will come.
All right, to another guy who's no stranger to criticism, Dwight Howard, who reportedly has been traded to the Nets in exchange for Timofey Mozgov and 2 second-round picks. Just a few years ago, Howard was the most dominant big man in the league, but is about to be on his 4th team in 4 years, while the league has been overtaken by the Steph Currys of the world. Cowherd, are big men still relevant in the NBA?
Yeah, they're just not crucial. Size and length, situationally, matters. There are matchups and moments. You can attack Golden State. I mean, let's be honest. One of the things LeBron has struggled with is when you have a big, he doesn't finish at the rim, you force him to shoot jumpers, he loses confidence. I mean, Roy Hibbert gave LeBron trouble for a couple years. Size matters, but I think it's more situational. It's relevant, but it's not crucial.
When I heard this story today, traded to the Nets, what is this, 6th, 7th team for Dwight Howard, the premier big man, 6th team for Dwight Howard, the premier big man since Shaq. And so the last 15 years, and he's on his 6th team, and I'm thinking the NBA draft, they're talking about 3 relatively big players going at the top of the draft, and I'm like, what are they doing? And I know Ayton and these guys play different than Dwight Howard, but the league has moved away from the big man, and I just don't think they're nearly as relevant or as important. I look at these guys. They're talking about Bagley, Ayton, Mo Bamba, or none of these guys are Anthony Davis to me. And so, they're not Dwight Howard either. But I just don't get it. I'm buyer beware on the big man.
I think the big men are still relevant. It's just we're watching the evolution of the big man. The traditional big man. Go down to the block, protect the rim, show on a pick and roll, and get back to the paint. That's long gone. What we're seeing now is the evolution as far as now they're becoming more athletic. Now you can switch 1 through 5. They'll be able to play on the perimeter. The bigs can run a pick and pop, also run a pick and roll, and they could roll and replace with 2 different big men. So it's a lot of things that these bigs can do now that the traditional ones, not saying that they couldn't do it, they just weren't allowed to do it. They were, hey, no, you get on the block, big fella. Just like the biggest kid in CYO basketball or youth basketball, first thing you do, get to the block. And nowadays, they're not doing that. They're saying, hey, can you shoot, big fella? All right, cool. That helps us. So I think that's what's happening now is that we're seeing these guys evolve into a new age center, a center that can pick and pop, a center that can shoot threes, one that's really athletic, one that can run the floor and not just stuck in the paint. Like you look at what Dwight Howard does and compare it to what DeAndre Ayton will be able to do, you'll see the evolution of the center.
I would totally agree, and I would add to that, listen, the back-to-the-basket guy, the Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, those dudes are dead. They're dinosaurs in the NBA now.
They're guards now.
Yeah, and if you see the evolution of Anthony Davis, he came into the league, didn't shoot a lot of threes. He's jacking threes now, okay? Boogie Cousins shot like no three-pointers when he got into the league. He's out shooting threes now. And to your good point about the draft guys, when Mo Bamba puts out a video of his workout, all you see is him shooting threes. Marvin Bagley on the perimeter. Hey, look, we can shoot threes. That's what they want to tell teams.
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton, look at my touch, look at my form. And it's like they're not showing their big man capabilities. There's no Rudy Gobert action here, right? There's no Clint Capella. It's all about shooting.
I was talking to Mark Few, the coach at Gonzaga, a couple years ago. He goes, listen, man, their parents have a 7-foot kid. Hey, we're not going back to the basket. It's like parents have figured out, I want my kid shooting jumpers because that's where you get on TV, make your money, and get your shoe deals.
does anyone besides me and McIntyre, though, turn a skeptical eye at these three guys we have pegged at the top of the draft? Because I just don't, do they matter in terms of winning championships?
The only guy I think, Marvin Bagley at Duke to me, is the only guy I watch in this draft, and I'm like, that guy feels like a great player and a great team. He's the only one I've seen.
But I don't think he's going to be on a great team.
Well, no, not
Obviously,
initially.
He's going to be on a pretty bad team. Same thing. I've seen them all. I cover college basketball with XM Radio, and I've seen Ayton with the Pac-12 network as well, up close and personal, live, and he is going to be a factor in this league. I don't think you can go wrong with either Ayton or Bagley. If you was to pick either one, it's depending on what do you want out of that. You know, what kind of player do you want? Do you want a guy that can run the floor or not?
All right, welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to Phil Mickelson, who finally apologized 4 days after hitting a moving ball at the U.S. Open, then telling everyone who was mad about it to toughen up. Cowherd, did Phil need to say he was sorry for this?
No, but he got pressure from all the rigid golf purists, and this is what golf is. It's no fun. I mean, that 4 seconds.
Oh, that's fun. Cheating is fun. Disrespecting the game is fun. That's what that was.
Cheating is when cheating is doing something that I can't see. That's not cheating.
Well, he disrespected the game.
Oh,
That's
disrespected.
He needed to apologize. Phil, good job.
I wish he would have thrown his club and swore and done that.
All right, to the World Cup, where Ronaldo has been incredible so far, scoring his 4th goal of the tournament in Portugal's 1-0 win over Morocco. Cowherd, would you rather have Ronaldo's looks or talent?
Talent. Looks overrated.
I agree. I've got the look, so I don't need that. I need the talent, and so I would rather have his talent.
Looks, if you were great looking as a kid, you'd be just lazy because everything came easy.
That's
talent,
true.
Ugly and talent has gotten me a long way.
Yeah, talent can make you look good, actually. You know, LeBron ain't a very good-looking guy, but he's so talented, no one cares. I mean, seriously, he had that beard.
That's terrible.
He's lost his hair, the whole nine.
He's a handsome man.
He was blessed to look like me. My God, he'd be as popular as Jordan.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.